Welcome to Teacher Talk Live with your host, Oscar Cielo Staten, and featuring our distinguished guests.
Our show is Get a Fresh Start, and we will be talking to our experts about what exactly will we need to get our classrooms ready this fall, and they have ideas that they will be sharing with us as far as time management, how to manage the tech, first day of classes, and many other things. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Goins will be our guest host today, guest co-host. So I will let him take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's show. We have a wonderful group of guests, and we have some great topics that we're going to talk about tonight. And believe it or not, it's not that far away from the start of the school year. We're probably 4 or 5 weeks away for some of us, maybe sooner for others. So we're going to try to tackle what we need to be thinking about as we get ready for kids coming back to the classroom. So I hope all of our viewers out there enjoy the show. Be sure to get on Twitter and send questions to myself or to Oscar or to any one of our guests tonight. And be sure to use the hashtag TeacherTalkLive. So with that, let's introduce all of our wonderful panelists tonight. If you could, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in schools. And we'll start on my far left with Beckett.
All right. I thought I might go first since I'm on the left. So I'm a special ed teacher. I'm originally from California. I've been part of the special ed scene since 6th grade when I was diagnosed with ED, emotional disturbance. And I was in special ed from 6th to 12th grade. I'm rehabilitated now. I'm no longer emotionally disturbed, so don't worry. I'm not going to do anything crazy, sabotage the program here. Let's see, after 12th grade, through my experiences with special ed, I got a job as a teacher assistant. So I was a TA for 4 years while going to college. And then as soon as college was done, I became a special ed teacher. I've taught MR classes. I've been part of autism inclusion, regular resource, special day class. I've taught a lot of special day classes from English 9, 10, 11, 12 to U.S. history, world history, sciences, all types of stuff. And I've been teaching abroad for the last 4 years. I spent 3 years in the Dominican Republic at an international school out there as a resource teacher. I spent the last year in Kuwait, and I'm on my way to Ethiopia in like 10 days, and I'm going to be at an international baccalaureate school. And I'd say the biggest thing is I've done a lot of co-teaching, so it feels like I've been doing student teaching for the last 10 years. I've got a lot of experience with a lot of good teachers.
Well, great to have you tonight. How about you, Grace? Tell us your story.
I'm a National Board Certified Counselor. I've received 3 national awards and 3 state awards. I am a RAMP Award winner, which is the American School Counselor Association Ask a Model program, where we serve all students in our school with academic, career, and personal social counseling. I travel and I speak at different conferences. I present on play therapy techniques for counselors, teachers, parents, and youth workers. And I also present on crisis intervention for youth workers, what to do in the first 24 to 48 hours in case of a crisis such as suicidal ideation, pregnancy, cutting, different things like that come up, so that teachers, administrators, and youth workers feel like they know what to do in the first 24 hours that are crucial to get that student help. So I also present on some other different topics, helping parents, teachers, educators, stress management, anger control, decision making, how to make friends, and communication skills, different things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for being here. Our next guest is Joe, all the way out in California. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Good. It's good to be here. Honored to be a part of this panel. To start off, I first started my education career as a first grade teacher, teaching for about 7 years in first grade, and then went into second grade and taught about 5 years of that, and then most recently did 3 years of fifth grade. I am now actually transitioning into a new position, and it's going to be a math TOSA position for the district as a math coach, helping teachers throughout the district in K-5 with math implementation and enrichment and support for all students. We are about to head into a new math adoption for our math curriculum, and so that's going to be a big thing ahead of me. I have been using EdTech in a lot of different ways, incorporated when the first iPod Touches were out, we were piloting that, and then I quickly became a pilot person for our smart boards. Also implemented the pilot program for our use of Schoology, our learning management system, and then had the privilege of being one-to-one with iPads, and then last year one-to-one with Chromebooks. So it's really fun to be able to see kids and see them create things with technology. And also with my math instruction, I've flipped and blended my math instruction and literacy instruction. So it's really cool to be able to see the kids get excited about that and then different learning techniques and styles. And then something really cool too is that a few of my kids created their own videos that I used in our flipped learning. So that was really fun.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Pleasure.
And we have a fellow Illinoisan. We have Meg with us tonight. How are you doing, Meg?
I'm awesome. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yay! It's hot here outside of Chicago, and I'm happy to be here. I'm a former classroom teacher. I taught 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, math K-8 as a coach. Yay! The best. And technology K-8. Now I travel locally, nationally, internationally, helping teachers and school systems make the most of technology. In my spare time, I write books, and I'm excited to say I have 2 that are coming out this year. So it's very exciting.
Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
Before we kick things off, I'll just let our listeners know a little bit about myself. I'm in my 14th year as a school district superintendent in the southern part of Illinois. So Meg and I are actually about 5.5 hours apart. I'm actually closer to St. Louis, Missouri than I am Chicago, but we consider ourselves both to be good Illinoisans, so we're going to do the best we can tonight. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick things off. And again, we ask everyone out there to tweet questions to our guest and to Oscar and myself. This is one of the best professional development opportunities you're going to find on the internet here with the Google Hangout. Oscar always does a wonderful job, and I learn so much every Tuesday, and I hope you do too. So with that, let's kick things off. And let's start with you, Meg. Let's talk a little bit about classroom design and management. And I know you spend a lot of time out and about doing professional development and working in schools, and you were a former classroom teacher. So what type of advice do you have for maybe new teachers getting ready to start that very first day for the first time?
Absolutely. I do a lot of instructional coaching in schools, and one of the things that I see is whenever you can get rid of the desks isolated in rows, and I can't believe we're still talking about that, but get those out of there. A district I toured recently, and right outside of Chicago, Berwyn 106, they are pulling out desks, and they're moving in tables and things like that, rethinking the environment. My favorite field trip, if you can ever get to one, is go see a New Tech high school in the whole New Tech network. It is, wow, it is like life-changing. They're all over the country. I can't wait to go see the one in the original, I believe, in Napa, California. But it gives you a whole new idea of what school could be if we rethink it.
And you know, we spent a lot of time talking the last several years, really, especially online with Twitter and social media, talking about rethinking learning spaces and how important that is. And in my district, we call them cemetery rows. And it's a morbid way to describe it, but not a lot of learning takes place if you're going to be in that static position. So, Joe, what does your classroom look like in California?
I have definitely been a long proponent of having tables. Back in 1st grade, when I had desks and that was the only furniture that I had, I still put them together to have tables for that. Most recently, when I was teaching in 2nd grade, I attended a Learning and Brain conference in San Francisco and had the pleasure of hearing about the benefits of technology. And then there's another day that talked about being cautious of tech, the need for the physical development of kids. And so right away after that, I went back to my class and I thought, what can I do to change my classroom environment? And so I got rid of all the chairs, raised up all the tables and for all the high kids, the taller kids, I got those bed risers, and so we had standing desks, and the kids really loved them. And some of my kids were just, it was challenging for them to get used to it. But my classroom aide asked one of my kids, just casually saying, what do you think about that standing desk? And he said, I love it, because in the past, if we had to, if someone was crowding our space, we'd have to get up, move our chair, and then sit back down. But now I just take a little step to the side, and I can get back to work. It allowed them to be able to have their kind of get the wiggles out too, because they were balancing on one leg and stuff. And so let's see, I'm going to try to find another thing. Most recently in 5th grade, with the kids being much taller, it was a little challenging to have standing desks. So I'm going to see if I can find a picture. What I did then with the 5th graders was I took out those bottom silver part of the tables, and I turned them into sitting or ground level tables. And so we got rid of chairs again, and they were just sitting on the ground. Some of them brought in pillows to be able to sit on. I'm trying to find a picture in my classroom Twitter account.
Joe, can I share with you that
please.
one of the things, while you're looking for that, one of the things when you're talking about standing tables, one of the things that I used to do in the classroom is not remove the chairs, but I used to have moments where I would detect kids that seemed a little bit off, and I would say, okay, let's all do standing for a while. Let's all stand the way I am, and the way and I used to do that for 5-10 minutes at a time. But actually doing it the whole time actually seems really cool as well.
Yeah, the chairs. I mean, I couldn't really get rid of them. We just stacked them, put them in the corner, so kids who wanted to still use it had the option. But it was really nice to be able to have that flexibility, and it cleared up so much more space getting rid of chairs.
So Beckett, let's jump over to you. And while Joe's looking for his Twitter feed, in terms of your classroom, what does it look like, and why is it so important, especially working with special needs students, to have more mobile furniture and more open spaces?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to have tables as much as possible, because I feel like students with special needs, in particular, they need a lot of space to spread things out and to just keep everything organized. So that's always something I fight for. And I try to keep things as organized as possible, because if I can keep the students stress-free and they know where everything is, they know all the routines, it makes, you can't even quantify it. You just don't even know how at ease it puts them. So I have a lot of labels on everything. Everything goes, stapler goes in the same place. I've got the whiteboard with electric tape and all the sections, for the date, for the objectives, everything. The students know exactly where to look every day. Nothing ever changes except for the content changes.
Right.
And so I just try to keep it predictable and give them space. And it's funny that you guys were talking about the different seating arrangements. Just recently, we did a debate in my history class, and we put the horseshoe shape. We went from kind of rows to a horseshoe shape, and the kids loved it. We kept it like that until the end of the year. And I guess I was kind of doing the cemetery of death before, but as soon as I saw the kids, they just loved being able to see each other and engage more. So from about April to June, I kept the horseshoe shape, which was really good.
Great. And Grace, Beckett touched on creating that stress-free environment, and we know even though we're dealing with children, we do have a lot of children coming to school with high levels of anxiety, and there's a lot of change in their lives. So what can we do to alleviate some of that in terms of setting up the classroom space?
Okay, well, a couple of things, and I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, kids who have a lot of wiggles in the chairs, it's important to look at the size of the chair. We have kids of all different shapes and sizes in one classroom, and a lot of times we find especially boys, their feet are dangling and not touching the floor. So it's important that their feet are touching the floor, their heel has to touch the floor, because if they can't, the circulation gets cut off at the bottom of their legs where their leg hits the chair, and then they can't sit there for long periods of time. And the girls in middle school, they're starting to widen there in the hips. They're able to sit there for longer periods of time. So the boys have a problem. They're much smaller than the girls in middle school, where they start getting the girls are growing faster than the boys, and the boys have trouble in the chairs when their feet can't touch the floor and their circulation's cut off, and then they have to wiggle and move. So then they lose concentration and focus. A lot of times you'll see kids who are in a bigger chair pull their feet up on the chair or sit cross-legged on the chair so their feet won't dangle and they get that feeling where their circulation's cut off. Another thing that's really important in the classroom configuration where you're going to put the chairs, and if they're tables or chairs with the desks, are kids who have medical problems or IEPs, or if they need to be sitting next to a trash can, need to be sitting next to the door. Students who have to move back and forth to the office, maybe to check blood sugar levels, they need to leave the room, or they have frequent bathroom breaks. They could be sitting next to the door so they could just ease out and ease in. So if you know your students before the first day of school and you know what their needs are and their accommodations, make your seating chart based on those needs and accommodations, and you're going to solve some problems before they even become a problem.
Yeah, that's a great thought, Grace. Very well said. Joe, do you want to jump in?
Yes, I worked with a former student's parent. The parent of a former student who did a lot of studies at Stanford about chairs, and she described this at a parent ed night that we had held at the school about the need for to look at different furniture, and we were looking at hydraulic chairs and hydraulic tables to be able to have that drafting style table as well. And she was saying that to make it simple for parents to understand is that throughout this school year, your child will change, their feet will grow. And so what do you do? You buy new shoes, right? Well, they're going to grow physically as far as their body too. And how can we expect them to sit on the same chair for that whole 180 days? And so that was a huge thing that a lot of parents understood, that the need for a different way of thinking for the classroom furniture.
Okay, good point. And Meg, coming back to you, we talk a lot about classroom management, and I guess the first thing we need to talk about is how do you define classroom management, and especially how that relates to how you're set up your classroom.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the most important thing is one size doesn't fit all for anybody. It's just different for every group of kids. I recently just wrote my last book is about designing student-teacher partnership classrooms. And sometimes it almost felt like I was writing in a bubble because it seemed so foreign. We're so used to having the teacher in the front of the room and the students sitting there listening, but so many of our students, that's not the way they think the best or work the best, especially when we have a technology tool in front of them. And so the book, it's almost kind of like, now I want to try to find some classrooms that are willing to really capture this kind of type of management. It's a different type of management than when I started teaching 300 years ago, and I was told to stand in front of the room and hand out papers. It's a whole new game, and you add technology, and it's a lot, but it's exciting.
We become more like facilitators, kind of.
I'm actually using the term activator, and I'm basing that on Hattie's research about a facilitator doesn't have as much of the gain as the activator, like the teacher actively going out to social media and finding real connections for that, that student or that group. So that's the term I'm using right now. But
Meg, are you trying to coin a new term just when I was getting used to being a facilitator?
No, actually, it's based on, I did not make the word up, so let's be clear. It's actually based on Michael Fullan's latest research. But when you look at the Hattie scale, does everyone know what I'm talking about? I feel like I'm sorry. I recite this in my sleep, I think, sometimes. But it really looks at what are some of the interventions. I can find it when you go on to somebody else.
Right. Okay. Go ahead. Should we move on to the next Heather the next.
Sure.
The
Sure.
next-
Now we'll jump into technology management, and I know that all of you are very strong in that area, especially with Web 2.0 tools. And Grace, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about some of the tools you like to use, or you like to work with teachers in terms of how they can interact and engage students in a better way with technology.
Okay, well, we have a program where the teachers use an online gradebook, and it is in real time, and that's very helpful for the parents. So all the parents get a login and a password, and they're able to check their child's grades in real time. So if the teacher uploads grades in there, say during our planning time at 10 o'clock, the parents can actually go in there and see those grades at 10:01. And if they have any questions or concerns, they're able to email the teachers directly from that site. Now, this coming school year, we'll be using a whole different program where the teachers will actually be able to see attendance, IEPs, 504s, LEPs, all different kinds of needs and concerns that the students have. They'll be able to email back and forth, and we also have a parent link, which is an email blast that can be sent to a set group of parents or to all the parents school-wide, like all the 6th grade parents or all the 8th grade parents, and that's for every school in our district. So it could be all the 1st grade parents. We also can do that with a phone link, so the teacher can call and make an announcement by phone, and then it gets sent to all of the phone numbers in that database. So those are really helpful, especially when we have parent nights or different events coming up, and we know that kids always don't take those informational brochures or flyers home. So the links that we have by email blast or phone call messaging are very, very helpful.
And Becky, what are some of the tools you're using in your classroom?
You know, that's funny. I wanted to jump in because the point that Grace made is one of the first things I wanted to mention. Is I kind of go old school with Microsoft Excel in order to keep track of the grades, and also IEP goals. I have them on spreadsheets. I'm gonna try to do a little screencast for you guys. You know, if my computer restarts or something. Let me see.
Just try to come back in.
So basically, we do the online thing also, but can you guys see my spreadsheet?
There it is. Yes.
So I try to do online programs, but sometimes you don't have internet or anything could happen. So I use a lot of spreadsheets. So like for this one, I have all the students' different classes, and then I tabulated GPA, so easily they can see how different things affect their GPA, and it really helps with small-time goal setting. This is from Khan Academy. Another thing I like to use is Khan Academy. It really helps inside the classroom and for homeworks. And are you guys still there?
Nice. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We're all here.
And so so Khan Academy generates the spreadsheet, so I can see how much time a kid has spent, different things they've mastered, all the different stuff. It really helps out. This is for behavior interventions. I have daily checkoff sheets with the students, so you can see. Sorry. I can keep track of all the days that they're doing good or not doing good, and then they get different rewards. You can see at the end. So it's kind of low tech in a way, but Excel just keeps everything tight, and I can go online into Google spreadsheets and add them to portfolios and whatnot when I need to.
Beckett, I think it's a great way to keep all that data with you at all times because you don't need a fancy program to be able to do what needs to be done as far as that, because we always want to be data driven, so as much information as possible. I think you're doing a great job with it. So
Very good.
Yeah.
I would like to add one more if I could.
Sure.
A lot of teachers in our district use Class Dojo. It's free. There's no cost for it, and it helps the
Dojo is
teachers to
fun.
track. Yeah, it tracks behavior. It sends alerts to the students or to the parents about their points and or what's going on in the classroom. So it's a great way to communicate. And all you have to do is download an app to be able to share the information on there. Another one that teachers like to use just within the classroom is Too Noisy. There is a cost for that. It's minimal. It's like $2.99 to buy it. And when you're working in groups, the noise levels can go, out the roof. So it helps the kids to see with red light, green light, and so on about the noise level in the room to monitor themselves.
Great.
And I'd like to add something. Let you know that 2 weeks from now we're going to have a teacher tech show, and it's going to be all about tech. And I hope that you guys are there. I was going to show this at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and show it now. So there it is, the teacher tech. And so what we're going to do at that time is like really hone in on the best tools that teachers should have, that educators vote as the best tools, because there's so much on the internet available to teachers, and new stuff pops up every day. And that made me think of what Grace said with Class Dojo, because a lot of people are using it, and it's a really cute way to manage behavior, manage point, and all kinds of stuff. So.
And Joe, I know you're a huge proponent of Class Dojo, and you're very active in the Dojo chat on Wednesday nights. So what's your elevator speech for that product?
So I actually am so honored. I just recently was announced to be one of the Class Dojo ambassadors to just share what Class Dojo is about and help people out on the internet, on Dojo chat. Definitely a great product. Definitely, the very first time when I first started using it, I had this internal conflict of thinking, is this going to help students? Because it's starting to seem like it's extrinsic motivator, and I really want my students to be intrinsically motivated to make good choices. And I think, as I was using it and just processing it more, thinking about that is that as a child, even a toddler, preschooler, you need to teach them what's right from wrong, and you need to help guide them. And so this is a way of guiding them, to give them that motivation, that point system. Students really, with my previous year, this year we had Chromebooks, and we downloaded the Class Dojo extension, and so anytime that I'm on my phone and I enter in that they get some points for Class Dojo on their Chromebook, they actually get that immediate feedback. So it's really powerful. Also, I can, of course, take away points so they can see that privately, too, so that they can get that immediate feedback. It's really powerful. It's a really good resource that I think teachers can just try it out, and if it works for your class this year, then great. If it doesn't, then, maybe it'll work a month later. I don't know.
Sure. And Meg, I know this topic is certainly in your wheelhouse. You spend a lot of time talking about technology in the classroom. So, I mean, can you come up with 2 or 3 that every teacher must try at some point?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, sorry, I've got to throw it out there. And I want Joe to get excited and jump up and down. I love watching kids when we play a Kahoot game. Are you all familiar with? Yeah, Joe, can you type that in the Twitter for us? So they get so excited. So that one's is a great one. I've been drawing a blank right now. Communication with parents is Remind, is blasting out the message. All right, and I'm totally drawing a blank of another newer one that I'm loving. It'll come to me, and I will put it in the Twitter feed.
Great.
Can I share one more?
Absolutely.
So this is another non-Web 2.0 tool that I use. I use a lot of Web 2.0 things too, but I use a lot of macros. Are you guys familiar with the macro? Like with Microsoft Word and also with my browser with Firefox. Mm-hmm. I can just hit a button and then it will populate different fields or it'll write certain things. And so as a special educator, when I worked in Los Angeles Unified, we had 50-page IEPs and they were online. And so, using a macro, every page you'd have the same data. And instead of rewriting it, you could just hit it. You create a macro, you hit, whatever, run, and it goes. Also, for non-special ed teachers, a lot of us are doing Atlas Rubicon now, where you have to put all your unit plans and all your curriculum onto this website. And in doing that, I found that the macros work a lot because you put a lot of the same information into these forms. So if you run a macro, it saves a lot of time. I hope so.
You know, I just returned from the ISTE conference in Philadelphia a few weeks ago, and it seemed like everywhere I looked, I kept seeing this thing called Brain Pop. Who can tell me what in the world Brain Pop is and why my teachers need to be using it in my school district?
Wow, I'm surprised there's still a buzz about Brain Pop. That's been around a long time. But it is there's a lot of brain research that goes into it, and I'm sure Grace can tell us more about it. But there's short little shots of videos of all different high interest, and then the video quizzes, and the kids love them. And so it's a subscription you absolutely need to get for your teachers. And make sure there's one subscription that they can watch it at home, and there's one that they can't, I think. You want to make sure that you can extend that learning throughout the year. So absolutely you must have. But it's been around for a long time. I actually even posed with one of the characters and brought it home to my boys back in the day.
And Dr. Goins, it's very much a animation type thing, and there's a robot that makes a little noise, and the kids really love it when you know, like when he answers something, right? Mm-hmm. It's really engaging and short. That's the part that I really like about it. It's really short and to the point. So, Joe, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in with some other ed tech tools that I've used, and also just kind of echo certain things that were said already. BrainPop, definitely a great resource with videos. There are quizzes that allow the kids to be able to check their understanding of it too. There's lots of great videos that I actually use for cyber safety, online safety, identity safety on the internet. And that's one of the key things that I do with my second graders and also my fifth graders recently, starting off the year, learning how to be safe online. As we then move into using our learning management system. In my district in Palo Alto, we fortunately are using Schoology, and it's a great resource to be able to have my coursework there. It's really, for the kids, it's their first exposure into some sort of social media that's academic sensitive. I'm sure some of them have social media on their own, but there's a social media view to it. And so what I've done too is that I created a discussion that's just called Chit Chat, and I know that was very purposeful because a lot of kids would just start chatting on the main updates page, and I told them, you know, you're going to put all that in the Chit Chat discussion. The main updates page is for academic stuff.
Very good.
The thing that was mentioned earlier by was it Beckett? Beckett was talking about the way he keeps his scores, his assessment data, and he uses Excel. I definitely am a big proponent of using digital record keeping, and so I've used Numbers on my Mac. I've also helped my colleagues use Google Sheets, and it's just an easy way to be able to have everything synced up. You can have it on your iPhone, your iPad, on any computer, and then you can access it from anywhere. So that's a great thing, rather than that, you know, the old-fashioned red record book that sometimes you might lose, or you leave it at school and you're doing some work at home. How do I group my kids together because I forgot the scores. One last thing that was I wanted to share is that this whole idea about brain breaks, and I actually don't call them brain breaks anymore. I call them brain boosts, and it's an ed tech tool that's called Go Noodle, and it's these various videos that get kids moving. And the reason why I call them brain boosts is that it really gets them going and gets the blood pumping and flowing, and so that I can really see my kids and their productivity increase after those brain boosts. So another great resource that I recommend to teachers.
Great. Well, it's Tuesday night, everyone, so you're tuned in to Teacher Talk Live, and I'm the guest co-host tonight, Greg Goins. Oscar is kind enough to let me kind of step in and help out a little bit, so wave at everyone, Oscar. We have some great guests tonight, so if you want to connect with us, get on Twitter and just use the hashtag #TeacherTalkLive, and we would love to have your questions, and the panel, I'm sure, will provide wonderful answers. So, Oscar, do you want to jump on to Category 3?
Before we do, Dr. Goins, I wanted to ask the panelists about the most basic tech management in the classroom, whether you have iPads, Chromebooks, or whatever you have. How do you manage that in a classroom setting so that it's efficient and it doesn't take up too much of your time? in that it is used most efficiently, basically, like the routine or system that you may have that you may find most convenient and most efficient. Anyone?
Yeah, for myself, most recently, I was working in a school where everybody had their own technology. So when it was time for us to go on Khan Academy or Quizlet or something like that, they just pop it out, and it was no problem. Before that, I was working in San Francisco in a high-needs school, and I brought in the iPads. Well, the school provided them, and we just had them numbered, and the kids knew the number 1 came up first, signed out, and then he was responsible. They already signed the waiver, and they sat down. Number 2 comes up, and it took a couple minutes, but it was a routine that we knew, and I never had to worry about kids acting crazy or putting them in their backpacks or anything like that.
And just to share out there, as far as schools and districts that are lucky enough to have all the technology that they may need or deem fit. In my classrooms, I've never had a one-to-one iPad or never had that much technology available. So a lot of what I've done before is go through Donors Choose and just make sure, teachers, you need to know about Donors Choose and use it, because there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help you. In my classroom, I was able to get 4 iPads to use in the morning in the first 10 minutes of class for students taking online quizzes and things like that. And Donors Choose, you can set up a project and go through that. So that's my spiel on that. So the next. Oh, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just one real quick thing. The other thing too is think about it. I work with a lot of schools that have the bring your own technology model, and so you walk in and there's all different devices. I think the most important thing that the teachers realize, they don't have to know every operating system and every app. It's
right.
Students be the experts, because they are the experts. Just let them be the experts.
And that made me think of something else. Something I did, which was the rest of the teachers saw me kind of funny. I asked friends and people like that to donate old iPhones. There's always some old iPhone that a friend has. So I got these old iPhones, and I got an old case and glued it to a plate, to a dish plate that you buy at Target or wherever. I glued it onto that, so when the kids would hold it, they would hold it kind of like an iPad. And at first it was kind of odd to them, but then they started liking it because it was easier for them to be just being carrying around a little iPhone. When they wanted to use it, it was more easier that way to use. So. Yeah.
But the life hack.
Yeah.
The classroom hack.
Definitely. So our third topic is leading us into time management. So as far as apps and ways to run the classroom. So if anybody wants to jump in on that right away.
Someone made reference to Schoology earlier. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and do you consider that to be a time management tool?
So it was me. In Palo Alto, we use Schoology as our learning management system, and it's really been helpful for time management for students and during the school day, and of course outside of school day too. So I've actually been using it. Well, in our district, we use it to teachers use it to post their assignments. If the kids go home and they, God forbid, sometimes they lose their papers, they can go on to Schoology and get that PDF and then print it out and do their work that way too. There's also teachers use it to post their links for various videos. Like let's say going back to our Brain Pop videos, you can put the links there so the kids can know, hey, I need to go watch this Brain Pop video or this video on for Discovery Channel or whatever it is. I've used it to flip my math instruction, and then most recently this past year blended my instruction. So it's helped with the time management in that way. With the flipped classroom model, I have my students watch my math instruction at home, and then they would come to class and they jump right into the work with a quick review of the objective. And then so that frees up my time that traditionally you have your instruction in the classroom, and you have some interruptions. I don't know, like the office says sorry for interruption, and so instead you have this video. And my kids, they really enjoyed it because they can pause me, they can replay me. And how often can you do that in a class, right? Oh, Mr. Young, will you repeat that? Sure, but how often, right? So that's really helped with the classroom management and time management there too. And it's extended the classroom beyond that 6 hours during the day. They can go home using Schoology to learn things. In my videos, I push out, here are some other links for you to check out if you're interested, going on to Khan Academy to be an active learner. And then also in our Schoology, they have that chance to communicate to each other. So beyond our 4 walls of the classroom, the 6 hours of the school day, they have that way of, actively learning throughout.
And Grace, from a counselor's perspective, we talk a lot about behavior management plans, something like a PBIS model. Why is that positive intervention so important for kids today?
Well, we have a lot of parents, unfortunately, who have just given up. They just don't know what to do with the behavior of their children, and sometimes it's just a matter of they need to learn to cut the umbilical cord with their child so they can just get their kids to move on instead of being a helicopter parent. The kids need to learn to accept responsibility and accept the responsibility for the consequences, the natural consequences that happen if you don't follow through on what you're supposed to do. So we mentioned before intrinsic motivation. That is really, really important. Students don't need a reward or a sticker or something every time they do what's right. They should just do what's right because it's expected. And we need to look at more, what's going on inside the child to make him want to just achieve on his own and take responsibility for his own learning without the parent having to intervene so much. So the positive behavior that's online is really well written. They have Tier 1 interventions that can be used for all students in the classroom, and then if you need more help, they have Tier 2 and Tier 3. They also have places where you can create charts and diagrams. Those can be downloaded and printed for kids to have their own personal charts, and they can learn to chart and monitor their own behavior. And it's important to teach children to monitor their own progress so that they can see what's going on and make a plan for doing what they need to do. Have a goal and a breakdown of how they're going to achieve that goal.
Grace,
something reachable.
Sorry, Grace. I wanted to jump in because you'd mentioned helicopter parents and that sort of thing. It made me think about. I want to share my success story with parents, and I think a lot of teachers out there have this kind of success with that type of behavior and that type of mentality. We have all kinds of parents out there. But one thing I have done in my classrooms every time is that I make that parent connection. I connect with that parent as much as possible so that they have my trust and that I have their ear. Because that has been crucial in my classroom. It has been that they have my trust. Mm-hmm. So going back to only a year ago, in my last classroom, I've been out of the classroom for a year now. In my last classroom, I had a little girl, a third grader, who was very much daddy's girl. And so it was very much that type of thing. And so, you could tell that she wasn't very responsible for anything. And so when it came to homework for me, it was very much, well, my dad wasn't able to sit down and work with me, or daddy wasn't able to, I'm like, no, this is your responsibility. This is time for you to step up and be responsible. So sure enough, I went to talk to the dad, and I told him, look, you pick her up, and she runs to your arms, and the rest of the kids kind of look at her kind of funny, and you have that beautiful relationship with her, but as far as school, it's business. So I told him, you know, you need to allow her to do her homework and be responsible for that. Be responsible whether, you know, it's not your responsibility that it gets done. You may assist her, but it doesn't mean that you do it or that you are responsible for it. So I had this conversation with him, and it was really successful. It was life-changing for that child. And I've had so many times that way when that has happened, and I think teachers really need to embrace parents as much as possible.
May I jump in to add to that too?
Please.
When I taught first, second, and fifth grade, I used the same message for my parents, and I did it straight away at back to school night. And I would tell them, and I tell them just to the students too during the school day, but I would say, homework is yours. Your mom, your dad, they're not in first grade anymore, or they're not in fifth grade anymore. So this is your work, and so this is your responsibility. And then so at back to school night, I would say that to the parents and get them to know that, you know, when you're at home, you're really just supporting your child, but it's their work. And if they fail, let them fail, because that allows me to know what I can do to you know, reteach it or to figure out another way to go about it. Full small groups, but it's a matter of, I don't want to see the understanding from the parent. I want to see the understanding from the kid. And if it's lack of understanding, that helps me know what to do.
And it's so often, you know, Joe, we have to explain to the parent, especially, you know, like myself, I've worked in a lot of low socioeconomic schools, and you know, we expect the parents to know better, but they don't know you know, they may not know this educational system necessarily, and so we kind of have to teach them ourselves, you know, that you know, homework itself, the reason that I assign homework is so that your child can practice what we did in class, and they bring it back, and I can tell if they really got it or they didn't, if there's something that I need to go over again. But if you do it, you know, I know you got it, but not the child. You know?
I would definitely agree with that. Parent ed is a huge part of every school year. You know, going from one teacher to other, different styles, different structures, but that back to school night, I really see it as a parent ed to let them know who I am. I actually also found it highly important when I started flipping and doing the blended learning, because in previous years the kids didn't have that, so I had to get the parents to know what is blended learning all about, what is flipping all about. And so what was a really nice unexpected benefit that I found is that at an IEP meeting, mom said that she started watching the videos with her son, so that she knows that those algorithms from the math curriculum, you know, they're used to the traditional borrowing, carrying, whatever traditional methods of multiplication, adding, and subtracting, whatever. But as the parent, the mom was watching it with the child, she started understanding, oh yeah, this is a new strategy. I can learn this with my child. And so it was unexpected. I didn't intend for the parents to watch it, but it was great because I built that homeschool connection with the kid, with the parent, and then definitely it became that partnership that I was intending to have.
Joe, I would get the same kind of feedback, but except that I would have moms come to me and say, what are you teaching my child? What is this? You know, I don't understand how to do this. And so what I would tell them is, well, have you asked your child to try to explain it to you? Because that's what I want your child to be able to do, to explain it to you. You know, I can teach it to you, but let your child try it first. Let your child try to. And I think that.
And, you know.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, sorry. Just all of that is really good. What you're both saying is that communication is the key, and we just need to explain it to parents, you know, what we're doing in the classroom and the goals, because today's classroom is nothing like the education that they received.
Right, right.
And Grace, that's probably a great segue into our last topic, which would be parent engagement. So, Beckett, I'll bring you back in, and my guess is you have students in your class that have different academic levels and also different behavior levels. So how do you keep everything together in terms of time management, but then how do you also go above and beyond in terms of trying to communicate and do what's best for your students?
I'd say the first thing that pops to mind is I take a lot of notes, and I take a lot of notes just through the day. of observations, things the kids are doing. I keep a lot of work samples, so I have a student folder. So I always take work samples and put them in the folder. I take a lot of meeting notes, so I can bring all that stuff to the meeting that I, tabulated before, and then from the meeting I take more notes, and I just keep going with that. But I think it all starts off with opening the communication with the parents. I start off early with a letter to the parents, introducing myself, giving them all the contact information, and I try to be as available as possible because students with special needs are often going to have those behavior concerns you're alluding to and academic concerns. They might even have more difficulty with the homework. So I give the parents my cell phone number, and so far in 10 years I've only had one problem with a parent having my cell phone. And that was like 10 years ago. So usually it's okay. Parents are respectful. I get text messages a lot, lots of email, phone calls at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And, and like I showed you guys the Excel sheet, I have sheets on all the kids. So I take a lot of screenshots and send it to the parent. And I'll say, hey, this week he dipped in this. What's going on? Do we need to set up a little informal plan? Do you want to, things like that. And so, I'd say lots of open communication and having the data keeps the relationship strong with the parents.
And Meg, how has social media really been a game changer in terms of how not only teachers communicate, but schools communicate?
Yeah, and I think that's so key to really make it for, especially with a fresh start this year, really be thinking about how to use that. And for example, I'm working with a local school district that they speak approximately 37 different languages. And it's really hard, that adds, imagine, it's a very small district and they speak 37 different languages. But what they started to do is they started to use Twitter. And we worked together with them to help them put a picture with every one of their tweets. And the parent engagement has been unbelievable. Every parent wants to see their kid. And so now the parent has something to ask the student about, because if you ever raised middle school kids, you come home, what'd you do? Nothing. Now we have pictures. To say, well, tell me about this. And even though English wasn't, the primary language, they were able to use those pictures as a way to communicate. And then one of the other things too is not only just to tweet, but also to organize them. And what great place to organize them, all your tweets from the week is on Storify. And Storify is a website, it's free, and you just go ahead and organize your tweets there. I see some head nods, so you know what I'm talking about. I put the link over in Twitter to one of my favorite schools to kind of give you kind of a model. Tony leads a school in New York, and the link that I gave you will give you some ideas on how he's using Twitter just to brag all day long about the great things his teachers are doing.
Yeah, you're talking about Tony Sinanis out east, and also Joe Sanfilippo, who will be on my new show next Tuesday night. So they've co-authored a book called Branding, and I'm going to have Joe here next week, and we're going to talk about telling your school story. So that's a great segue, Meg.
That's awesome. I'll try to stop in because Tony, I always use Tony as my model because I just love the way he captures the story of his building, and he really does.
They do phenomenal things in Tony districts and Joe's district. So, Grace and Joe, do you want to weigh in a little bit on collaborative tools and how to enhance that parent engagement?
Grace, I'll let you go.
All parents want their children to be successful. And if they know about an event at school like open house or parent night, they want to come. A lot of times when we give kids a piece of paper about information that's happening at school, it does not get home. Because before the kids even get on the bus, we see that same paper on the floor, in the trash can, crumpled up, or it's at the bottom of a book bag, or someplace else. It doesn't get home, or if it gets home, it doesn't get into the hands of the parent. We've come up with creative things at our school to make sure the parents get the information. So some of the things that we have, we put the event, let's say the event is a parent night coming up, put it in the school newspaper. We ask the PTA to collaborate with us, so the PTA will put it in their newsletter and on their website. Each teacher will put it on their website. We'll give the kid a Band-Aid, and the Band-Aids are neon-colored Band-Aids. We can stick it right on the student's hand. They'll probably wear it on their face or someplace. It has the information on there, like maybe the date, January 13th. So they go home with this date. It's like a save the date Band-Aid. They can take it and stick it on the refrigerator or a calendar. So the Band-Aid can get home because it's stuck right onto the child, just like a sticker. And we'll give the kids a bracelet. So we'll have a paper, kind of like this. It says parent night, parent night. So the flyer can be in thirds, saves paper. And then the 1/3 is cut on the paper cutter. So this is parent night, and we'll fold it. These will be in all colors, like yellow and pink and blue and salmon. And when we fold it like this, it'll say parent night on there. It's a bracelet. The kids wear it. And middle school kids love this. We say, take the bracelet home for your mom. We'll tape it right there on their arm. And they're taking their bracelet home. When they go home, this is a present for their mom. The bracelet, take it off, and the information about the parent night or whatever the event is right there. So not only have we created the information, we know that it's getting home. Another thing that we do is we ask the parents to call in and make a reservation that they're attending. That gives us data. So if we have 80 parents who have called in, we know that 80 parents got the information. Then we can target certain homerooms or classrooms where the data is low or there's no participation. Those are the rooms that we have to target to make sure that it's going home. And as I said before, we have the parent link by email or by phone. We put it on the school marquee. When parents come into the office, we can give them a flyer by hand, or if they call into the school, we can say, oh, and by the way, did you know about the parent night on? So we communicate strongly and to get the information out to the parents in a variety of ways so that they'll know what's going on.
I have a quick question for all the panelists. As I'm hearing Grace talk about all the really creative ways that you can come up with getting a message out to the parent, and we've been doing that for a long time. But I have noticed, these past 2 years, again, talking from a low socioeconomic neighborhood standpoint, I have noticed more and more that the parents walk around with mobile phones, and more of them, and more of them are connected. So I'm wondering, just doing an out loud, wondering if it's the Facebook. I know it's not the Twitter. If it's the Facebook or some other method that we can get those parents connected to the classroom, and then the school connected to that teacher, so that they may relay messages back to that parent. Anybody have anything to add to that?
I'll add one more thing to that. Like when we have our discussion has been, we're still missing a group of parents who might have to work at night, or they just can't make it to the school because maybe they have little children to take care of, or maybe they're taking care of a parent, which a lot of our parents today are taking care of older parents. So we have been talking about videotaping our parent night. That can be uploaded to YouTube, kind of like Flip the Class, but it's like flipping the parent night. So parents are able to watch the parent night, what happened, and get that information as if they were there, but just on their own time.
That would be great. Dr. Goin, may I ask another question to everyone? The other question that I have, since we're talking about collaboration, parent-teacher collaboration, is, Meg, you were talking about connectedness as far as Twitter is concerned, and one of the reasons that I made this program and that I want to get it out there as much as possible is that there's only a certain percentage of teachers that are engaged in Twitter. There's only a certain percentage that actually share, collaborate, that get on these wonderful Twitter chats and all these things. But then there's another big percentage that does not, and that had somehow afraid of it or shy or whatever it is, and they may be on Facebook. It's not that they don't know technology, it's just that they're not engaged with where really all these educators, these experts have come together, and it feels almost like we're preaching to the choir when we get on Twitter, because it feels like all these people know this stuff, and we're sharing a lot of the same things. And I really want to reach those other teachers. How do we do that?
Well, I think you're kind of on the right path. I think Pinterest is another great way to reach people, especially if you have a visual message.
Right.
And that's where we were very successful with the school with so many languages, with the pictures. Because if picture says 1,000 words, stop the talking and stop mailing, things that aren't reaching them home. Use your pictures to tell your story, I think is key. So Pinterest is a great one. Pinterest, people that are petrified of Twitter don't have any fear of Pinterest, in my opinion.
Right. It seems that Pinterest is a big teacher friendly tool, it seems like. So what about... Go ahead, Dr. Green.
I'm a recent convert to Twitter. It's been about a 2-year process of trying to get into it. And about 2 years ago, I sent out a group email to all the teachers at my school asking for links to teachers I should follow. And I got one woman that responded, and I think everybody else just didn't, they didn't know about it, just like me. And then in the past year and a half, I've been slowly getting into it, and just recently I've found the power of it. I'm following more people, and I'm seeing how having that PLN is really important. And for myself, what I want to do, I'm starting to take notes to make my own PD, my own professional development at my new school I go to. So first chance I get, I'm going to try to do a little PD and share the power of Twitter, because I don't think a lot of teachers know about it. So I'm going to talk to my principal and say, hey, can I talk for 30 minutes about how teachers can use Twitter? And I think, get the word out.
It also seems like as you look around, everyone has a mobile device, whether it's an iPhone or some type of mobile device on the go all the time. And in my district, we're really rethinking how we're going to use QR codes, because I've always felt like once you get people in the building, that's an opportunity to really kind of get them in the moment and tell your story, as Meg was talking about. But I mean, I've even had the chance to see principals put QR codes on the wall as you enter the building, and you scan the QR code, and it takes you to a welcome video on YouTube from the principal. So I mean, you can do so many things with QR codes. You can even make student work a QR code. So parent-teacher conference, put those QR codes on lockers. As parents come in, let them scan them and see an art project. So, Joe, I see you chomping at the bit.
I'm quite excited about this. I'm pretty sure that, I was trying to open it earlier, but my computer was slowing down. You'll see, this is just on my computer. I have this QR code single that I created, and I cut it out, and it was on a little take one on my bulletin board. And in here, I mean, if I open it, it will just make my computer slow down like crazy. But on one side it says about Mr. Young, so that the parents can go straight into my my webpage that talks about who I am. Another one is about the school website. Then there's our classroom Twitter account, and then there's a QR code to email me. So it's just a really quick way to be able to show that way that, as Dr. Goins said, for parents to just jump into different things. I want to share really quickly just about how I engage my parents too, and this is one thing that's going to be new, but definitely echoing a lot of what people are saying. Becca mentioned about using his own cell phone number. I actually am nervous about that, so I share a Google Voice number, and it's just a simple way to just sign up for a Google Voice number, give them that number, and it's easier for me to not have them to get to me all the time.
And you totally can. Sorry, you can totally manage that. You can set it to not ring at certain hours and all that. So
yeah, exactly.
A lot of control.
Engaging my parents, just getting information out to them. I love what Grace was saying about that Band-Aid. It works. It's just a great idea. Things that I've used are classroom website, of course. I do use a classroom Twitter account, and it was mentioned earlier about the power of just the pictures, and so here's a screen sharing of my my classroom Twitter account. You'll see here it shows all the different images that I've, art projects, and so for parents to be able to at the dining table, they would say, "Oh, what did you do today? Oh, it looks like you did something about Lewis and Clark, or you did this art project. Tell me more about that." So it's really powerful to have that classroom Twitter account. When I first started off, it was a way of just pushing information out to the parents, but eventually I encouraged the parents, if they have Twitter accounts, to then tweet back, and it became a two-way conversation. Those who don't have Twitter accounts, I also showed them how to get my tweets as a text message. So some parents have unlimited text, so there's that 40404. I think there's some Twitter thing that you can sign up for where a certain account tweets something and it comes to you as a text message. One thing or a couple more things actually. Class Dojo has a great way to send parents messages. One important thing, or one simple thing that I would say that's just the power of this, and you definitely never underestimate this, is the power of a phone call. I have a lot of parents that they may not get to their computers, or they're inundated with all this emails and all this stuff, and so it's hard for them to see my newsletters or go to my website. So sometimes I would just call them up and say, "Hey, there's this parent at night. I'd love to have you come join us," or I'm concerned, would you tell me more of some backgrounds or different things like that. So one last thing to share is something that I've done back in first grade, and it's a weekly podcast. And so with my newsletters, I found that a lot of my parents weren't reading them. So what I was thinking was, what can I do to make sure that the parents get information and hear the words of the kids? So I started recording their voices and creating this podcast, and it's a weekly podcast, just like 30 seconds long or so, throw in some background music to it. But I would push that out, and for parents to be able to hear what's going on, and they definitely tune into that because they want to hear the kids' voices, and it becomes a keepsake. Because when I taught first grade, I would tell them, this is your child's voice that will grow older. Hear something that you can remember. It was really fun.
Can they access that through the classroom website?
Oh yeah, let me see. On our Schoology, they would see it in a listing on our Schoology course. And that's because I make an enhanced podcast where I add students' faces to the images. And so let me grab this. Let's see if I can share this really quickly. This is my Schoology course, and if I click on podcast, then I have the student images tied to their voice. And so, I used to just send it directly to their emails, but then I also told them that I don't want to inundate your inbox, so let me just put it in the Schoology, our Schoology group, and they would just come in and watch and enjoy it with the kids too.
Nice.
Very nice.
Really nice. All right. Well, Dr. Goin, I think we have covered all the topics that we needed to cover. So I thought we would open it up for other ideas that we hadn't gotten to. I know Grace had a couple things about the first day of classes that she'd like to share.
Yeah, well, it's so important on the first day of school and in that first week to build community in your classroom. So the students feel like this is their new family, they have a place to belong, this is their school family. The new teacher is their trusted adult and go-to person, and you just want to make sure that you build a warm rapport with each and every student, and that the students know each other's names, because that's really important. And I brought just a couple of games. So this is just simple with Barrel of Monkeys. So you can get this at just any store. If you get the regular Barrel of Monkeys, there's 16 monkeys that come in the barrel. If you get the monkeys that are associated with movies, you only get 10 monkeys in a barrel. So just get the regular Barrel of Monkeys, you get more. You can also find like the dinosaurs or other animals at the dollar store, and they get these little plastic monkeys like this. So if you're going to lay them on the table, one thing you might want to do is just twist their arms so they will lay not lay flat, but they'll be, up a little bit. Let me see if I can get you in there. Where are you? Yeah. So you don't want them to, if they lay flat, they won't be able to grab them. But one activity that I like to do with students to build community is to give every student a monkey, and then they're standing around in a circle in the classroom. And I've done this with middle school kids as well as elementary. Everybody has their own monkey, and they come in all different colors too. So colors could even represent something if you wanted to. So each student might say something about themselves, or they might have to learn something about the student on their right and then pass them over. And as they're going, the first student might say something about the student on their right, and then they link their monkey to the chain, pass the chain over, and the next student says something about the student on their right, and they keep building their long chain of monkeys until you reach every student in the classroom, and your chain is really, really big. And this is your new friends, your new community. And when your chain even has even 20 monkeys on it, one trick that you can do is just to grab the first and the last monkey, and you pull it tight so it's a little bit taut, and you can just stretch it like this, and they just love that. And the monkeys can also stand for different strategies and things that you're trying to teach the students at the same time. So as you take them off, you might name different things, or go to the student on the left and go back around. So they have to learn something about students in their classroom and name them out loud, speak their names, speak other students' names, and it just helps to build community in the classroom. And another game is using the wood blocks, and I take the wood blocks and I write numbers on them like this. Let's see. Okay, and are you all seeing that okay? Because it looks backwards to me.
Yes.
Okay, and I ask my civil engineers in the classroom to come, speak their names, speak other students' names, and I ask the student civil engineers in the classroom to come and build the tower. So it's 3 at a time, 3, and then 3 in the other direction, and we build up the tower. Every student in the class has a block. So if there's 22 students, you'll number your blocks 1 to 22, and every student will have a block. And they get their blocks by randomly. And when I call your number, you're going to come up to the front of the room, and you're going to tell us your name, who lives in your house, and maybe a pet story, or your name and who lives in your house, and what is your favorite subject, or maybe a goal that you have for a year. But the point is that everybody has to come up to the room, share their name and something about themselves, and they're building the tower. So I'm going to call student number 1, number 2, who has block number 3, come on up, and that's your turn to share. And when the tower's built, that part of the game is over. And then as we have that wood tower, now we can play a game where we knock the tower down. The students are going to gently poke the tower and get a block that comes out gently, and then I'll ask for volunteers to come up, poke up the block. Now tell me something you want to be when you grow up. And then I have a career tie-in. So now on the first day of school, I've learned something about themselves, something about their family. I know some family dynamics and things that are going on, who's living in the home. If they tell me a pet story, I've learned something about their reaction to death, because with pets come stories of accidents, or when they had to put a pet to sleep, or a pet that they had and died when they were younger. So I have a grief tie-in. And then when we tear down the...
Sorry, just wanted to add that all this stuff that you're talking about can also be modified to a middle school, a high school level. No kid is young enough to be able to do this kind of activity, and I think it's important to remind viewers of that some of this stuff that we talk about, is not only for elementary. That I had a teacher in high school that really changed my life, because she brought in read alouds, and she was my 11th grade teacher, and she would bring in a read aloud. First thing that she would do to capture our attention, she would start with this read aloud, and at first we would look at her, are you crazy? What's wrong with you, lady? And after a while, we would look forward to this every day. We would look forward to going into her class because she was doing this read aloud, and nobody had read to us in a long time. So
I agree with that. I teach a lot of high school.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Grace? Oh, okay. I teach a lot of high school, and I do the first couple of days. We do a lot of games like Two Truths and a Lie, and just all the different like telephone games, just to get the kids engaged and learn their names and just kind of have a little fun. And in addition to that, I should add that I like to do name posters with the kids. So we go through a lot of those games, and then the kids make a little collage, maybe like 8 by 15. And I get, it's kind of relaxing. I get to see how the kids act socially. They get to meet each other. And I think the biggest part is kind of what Grace is talking about, is I get to put them up at the top of the classroom, and they're up there all year, and the kids have a little ownership from day one. So they get to see the game, they get to see their favorite football team.
Very nice. We could actually go on for quite a while about this. There's so much stuff. But I wanted to go ahead and thank you everyone for coming on the show. And thank you, Dr. Goins, for co-hosting. I think you did an amazing job. What do you guys think?
Yes. Yay!
Yes, I think so too.
Great guest. Make it easy.
I wanted to go ahead and share out with you guys what's happening next time on Teacher Talk Live. It's going to be on 2 weeks from now, July 28th. And it's going to be Teacher Tech. It's all about technology that teachers can apply in the classroom. And with that, I want to thank everyone for coming, and we will sign off now. And Dr. Goins has one more announcement.
Yeah, I'm back. We had some feedback there, so I wanted to try to mute the mic. I'm very pleased to be a part of the TeachCal Network, and Oscar's been good to me, trying to get me started with a School Leaders podcast. And our premiere episode will be next Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern, be 7:30 Central Time. And I have 4 amazing superintendents that will be on. And this will be a show by a superintendent for superintendents and other school leaders. And I felt like, there was something missing in that area, and so we're going to try something new and try to talk about things from the lens of a school leader and a person that's going to be, in the trenches making a lot of those financial decisions and technology decisions that are going to be so important to moving schools forward in the 21st century. So I hope you tune in next Tuesday night, and I thank you, Oscar, for letting me be here.
Dr. Goins, do you have that graphic?
I do.
Let's see it. I want you to practice how to do that sort of thing.
There we go. And it would have been so much better if I would have had that up, but give me a break. I'm a rookie, Oscar.
So thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for joining. Keep the conversation going. I will edit this and have it back up probably tomorrow before noon. And I would like you to share it out and get the message out there. I do want to talk to as many teachers as possible. On TeachCal, we now have a show about teachers, from teachers, by teachers, for teachers, and parents, and now we have a leadership program as well for the leaders of these schools to talk about what they're doing as well. So it's a really good thing that's happening, so I'm really excited, and I want to thank you for being a part of it. Everyone, thank you very much. Have a good one.